The release of Street Fighter VI marks a new era for the storied fighting game franchise. This latest entry brings many things. New characters, new takes on old characters, and new mechanics. For the competitive scene, it means new metas, new friends, new rivalries, and new tournaments. Opportunities for players to test their mettle and compete against some of the best. In this series, I will be documenting the tournaments of the early days of Street Fighter VI, chronicling player storylines and an evolving meta, capping off with EVO. This is the Summer of Street Fighter. This weekend, I traveled to Fresno, California for CenCal Standoff 2023. CenCal Standoff is a regional in the Central California area, and this year their marquee game was Street Fighter VI. I got there bright and early and found many people already playing casuals. The first wave of pools started promptly at 11 a.m. Pool A featured many extremely strong players, including Samurai. A well-known player from the NorCal area, Samurai breezed his way through pools and secured a spot in top 32 winners. I did an interview with him to ask his thoughts on the new game. Hello, today I'm here with Samurai. He's a very accomplished Street Fighter player, multiple major top 8s throughout 4 and 5, as well as multiple Capcom Cup qualifications. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. My first question for you, with the obvious caveat that we're only a week in, how does SF6 feel, especially in comparison to 5?
6 feels more fleshed out in terms of the game mechanics. Street Fighter 5 had to add a couple mechanics to make it more of like a full game. And there's a lot to play around with. For example, you got the drive rush, you got the drive impact, you got the parry, you got the perfect parry. There's a lot of things to do, so the game's going to be very deep. Pretty soon, I think.
Yeah. So my first question is going to be about some of these new mechanics. How do you feel Drive Rush and Drive Impact feel in neutral specifically? How does they feel as tools to sort of progress your game plan in neutral?
So Drive Rush and Drive Impact, how they feel neutral, it feels, at first you're thinking like Drive Impact is kind of like, it could be quote unquote gimmicky, but once you get a read of like how to react to it, how to punish it, it's okay. Drive Rush, however, is a little bit more cheap because you're just running at people. And right now, we figured out that Drive Rush actually eats an input. So for example, if you're trying to block or throw or do a jump, it might mess up your inputs as your opponents run at you. So that's something to look out for. They might change that, who knows, but that's something that we all competitors have to be aware of.
Do you feel like the gauge is enough? I would guess say, like, do you feel like you're wasting it a lot? Do you feel like you have enough in games?
The gauge itself is actually pretty interesting because it's interesting that you mentioned that. Is it enough or is it too little? I feel like it's just right for now, like just right. Mechanics are just enough to where you consume enough to where it makes sense. You know, it's not too little, not too much. So I think it's in the right spot right now.
They moved EX moves into the drive meter, and they made the super gauge specifically for super arts. How do those feel so far to use?
I think it feels really good. The meters being built into the drive gauge is really interesting because I don't know if you played Grand Blue at all, but you have your tools already. You have all your EX moves right away. But of course, it's a cooldown. So the drive gauge having a cooldown in terms of the bars or the meters, it makes it quite interesting to me, I think. It's really cool.
Do you feel like the game has, Drive Rush specifically and Drive Impact, have they sped up the pace of neutral in the game?
Drive Rush and Drive Impact is speed up the neutral of the game. I wouldn't say it speeds it up. It more so introduces another variable. So at the end of the day, at the highest level, people are going to play super slow, and then they're going to toss in the Drive Rushes, the Drive Impacts. So we'll see. But overall, it feels like you're playing a little bit slower because of those things. You got to watch out for those things. So
you're most well known for playing Shotos. You played a lot of Ryu in 4, a lot of Ryu throughout early 5, Luke throughout the end of 5, and now both of those two into 6. How does the Shoto archetype feel in 6, and how does it feel to play with Drive Impact and Shotos?
The Shotos feel really good. Ryu, Ken, Luke. Of course, right now, Ryu is, I think, the weakest of the three. Luke and Ken are very, very good. So they have this very strong fireball. They have very very good footsies. Compared to 5, the normals are a lot further, so it has more impact than neutral. They just feel really good, and in terms of drive impact and drive rush, they play well through it. Like you can bait drive impact very well with your fireball game, and you can just you can parry then just drive rush back at them. It's very interesting dynamic with the shuttles right now. So
yeah, I wanted to ask you about some of the newer characters in the game. How do you feel about Manon's medal system? And then follow up to that is, how do you feel about Jamie's drink system? Do you feel like those systems work in the game?
So Manon right now is a little hot topic because she's when she grabs you and she has 5 meters or 5 medals, it hurts.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like 1-1 per round and you're like, well, I gotta take a throw, you know. So I feel like that should be adjusted because the risk reward of you getting 5 medals at the last round. I mean, if you're up a round, right, and you're about to lose the second round, you might as well just try to get the 5th medal. You might as well, right? So there's that mind game, and on top of that, it does a lot of damage. So it's kind of like, I think in general, she should either use it and it goes away, for that. I don't know. Like it needs to change a little bit because it's a little too strong towards the end game. When I say end game, I mean like when it's 1-1 per round. In terms of Jamie, I think his drink system is really cool. But he suffers a little bit right now because of his tools to get in. He has to drink a couple times and his damage isn't there. So a lot of Jamie players have said that he's not that good. But of course they're still going to try and see if he's viable or not. But right now the consensus is he struggles against zoning, and him getting in, he has to be like 4 drinks in, you know, so it's a little bit hard.
Yeah. And then my last question for you today is going to be, is there anything, you've talked about how you think a lot of the game systems are sort of just right now. Not necessarily like character changes, but sort of overarching systems. Are there anything that you think they can adjust to 6 right now to make it a better game?
I think it's hard to say because right now the game is in a good spot. Everybody's having fun, everybody's enjoying it. The characters are very enjoyable, and there's just a lot of things that people are really enjoying about the game. And if you kind of change things in the middle of that, it might hurt that consensus. So I think right now I think we should wait to see before we change anything. My understanding and feeling is like Capcom is going to wait a whole year before they make any changes, which makes sense, you know, seasons wise. But who knows? They could change. I feel like they shouldn't change anything right now. It's still new. We still need to figure out a lot of things. Like I said, the game's gonna be very deep because of parry, because of drive impact, drive rush. A lot of things we still haven't sort of figured out yet. So, yeah.
All right, great. Well, it was great speaking to you today, and good luck in the rest of top 8.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The next match to secure top 32 would be between DeChronicle and Kurokiva. During the second game, there would be an unfortunate pause.
Any of those can come off of his light pressure. Nice in the drive impact. It's only 2 hits.
And
Hey!
a pause. Hey, Kurokiva goes right back in. Whoa, they're discussing something. Oh, Kurokiva looks like he didn't like that.
So the question is, what is the CenCal Standoff ruling?
The ruling would be Kurokiva gets a game, but DeChronicle would still win the match and the set convincingly. Pool A would also feature YJK, who was fresh off a second-place finish at ICFC. YJK would also breeze through his first 2 sets and would play Jard for the top 32 qualification. Jard would have a tough time dealing with YJK's relentless Kimberly pressure, and YJK would move on to top 32.
Wow, and YJK moving on. Hard fought, Jard.
This dude's name is absolute fire.
Buck,
Pink.
Okay, Buck, Bink.
The final winners match of Pool A would be between Buck, Bink on Guile and Nerd Press on DJ. It would be a close affair with many fireballs thrown. But Nerd Press would get the upper hand in the tight series and win, qualifying for top 32. After a short break, Pool B would begin. The first winner set of Pool B would be between Mario on Jury and EOL on Zangief. Mario is one of the strongest Under Night In-Birth players in California, and he would end up taking first at Uni at CenCal. His strong footsies would keep EOL out, and he would qualify for top 32. Up next would be Non-Factor on Blanca versus the 7th Trumpet on DJ. Trumpet would try to keep Blanca out, but it seemed like no matter what, Non-Factor always found a way to get in. Non-Factor would clean up the set and would qualify for top 32. The next set would be Luna on Ken versus Crazy Diamond on Jamie. Crazy Diamond will be able to sneak in some key drinks and keep his offense going. Luna would have some difficulties dealing with this heavy offense, and Crazy Diamond would win the set. The final winner set of Pool B would be between Tiggy, another DJ, and Perfect Shiny on Manon. The threat of Manon's medals would mean both players would go for a very poke-heavy game plan. But Manon's strong and long-reaching normals would give Perfect Shiny the edge and he would take the set. Pool C would begin and would include another batch of strong competitors. Among them would be Julio Fuentes and Aaarondamac, who played very early on in the bracket. Later on during the day, I interviewed Aaron to get his thoughts on the game.
Hello, today I'm here with Aaarondamac. How you doing, Aaron?
Doing good. It's a little hot out here, but we're living.
Gotcha. Yeah, that CenCal heat.
Yeah.
I was surprised I'm from NorCal, so I was like, oh my
Yeah,
god.
it's never like this up there.
So Aaron is an accomplished Guilty Gear player. He started the year strong, getting first at Genesis, had an impressive string of third place finishes, and then finished second today in Strive. Recently, you've been dipping your toes into Street Fighter. My first question is, what are your initial impressions of the game?
My initial impressions are, it's a very big departure from games I've played, and the way you move in this game, and there's certain core concepts of Street Fighter that just don't apply to other games that I've tried so far. So it's been nice to learn a few new skills that I think I can also apply to other games. But as far as fun, I'm having a lot of fun. I was iffy the first few days, and I just had to get down a few basic Street Fighter things, and I feel way better when I play the game, and I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's a cool game, and I think it has potential to grow for a long time.
So my second question then is Street Fighter 6 your first Street Fighter? Did you play any 5 at all? Did you play any 4 at all? How familiar with you with the series before 6?
Yeah, so the first Street Fighter game I tried is after they announced 6, I knew I had some interest in the game and wanted to play it, right? So my friends were going to play it. So I dipped my toes with Street Fighter 5, and I played Jury. I like Jury in that game. I think she's interesting. But I was just not a fan of the game or how it flowed or honestly even how it looked. So I played about 10 hours of it and tapped out. But I've already put in at least 7 to 8 times that into 6. So that clearly tells you I'm enjoying 6.
Yeah, for sure. You've sort of landed on DJ. On the surface level, he seems a bit similar to the character you play in Strive, Leo. They both have Flash Kick, Charge Fireball. But on a deeper level, are they similar? Are they not similar? What do you think in sort of the reality of it?
Yeah, so I think they're similar in a lot of ways. Obviously, you mentioned they're both Fireball, Flash Kick characters, very strong defense. And one thing that I think is awesome about the both of them is for the kind of character they are, you wouldn't expect them to have the super strong neutral game that they do, because they both have really fast move speeds. Leo dashes at the speed of light. DJ's drive rush looks like it's bugged. So I think one thing I like about them is how well-rounded they both are, and I feel like they're always in the game no matter what, due to how strong their neutral is and how strong their defense is.
So this could be sort of a game system angle, or it could be a character angle. Do you find that your approach and your game plan with the two characters is particularly different? Because in terms of, like, you're talking about them similar, do you find that you approach them differently at all?
Yeah, I feel like I do, because with DJ, it's not more so, like, so with Leo, he has strong neutral game and neutral control, but he does really want to be in your face. And DJ does have very strong plus frames that he, honestly, for the kind of character he is, it doesn't make sense that he does, which is why I think he's very strong.
Yeah.
But I'm more so content playing in a mid-range and making the opponent more inch towards me with DJ, whereas with Leo, they're the ones who want to stop me from coming in. But I think both characters, honestly, could play in both styles. It's just more so of what I prefer doing with each of them.
Gotcha. Another DJ question for you. How have you been using the feints, and what do you think is sort of like the ceiling on feints? Because it's a really interesting mechanic. In terms of when I tried DJ, I felt like I really didn't know what to do with it. What do you think sort of should be the approach with feints? How are you using them?
So one big thing that relates to this question is I felt like I got this advice from another pro player named Flash Metroid, actually. I was throwing fireballs in a range where they're only risk and basically no reward. So I've started to use my fireball as a little bit more of an extended poke at maybe a little bit shorter than one character length away. And at that range, you could not actually react to the fireball versus the feint. And when you do it at that range, and if they don't want to take drive damage, they have to parry it at that range, and they can't actually react. So you could and if you're using it at those poke ranges, you could bait parries, or if they jump in, you can feint a fireball, and by the time it's recovered, and if they jump, you'll have your flash kick charge, so you get an anti-air. So I think, and since it's only 21 recovery, these are straight scenarios where if they don't want to be safe and don't want to get their drive guard taken down and down and down, they actually do have to guess a little bit.
Yeah. So
I think it's really cool, and it opens up a lot of mind games in ways you could get reads on your opponents and the things they like to choose. And I think his feints are really cool. It's a really fun part of the character. I think it adds a lot of mind games with it.
So from a systems angle, the sort of resource management in Guilty Gear versus Street Fighter is very different. One of the big things is burst. There's sort of a natural defensive resource that you have in Guilty Gear. The drive system works a lot differently in Street Fighter. So my question for you is, in terms of defense, how do you see the drive meter being used as opposed to a resource like burst?
So I feel like you could be a little bit more lenient with defense in Street Fighter, because your burst is a resource that they could bait, and it takes a while to come back, and it's just a little bit harder to play around, I feel like in general, defense in Street Fighter is a bit more linear, where if you get put into a situation like Oki or +2, if you have a reversal, you'll reversal, or you'll tech throw, or you'll block. And it's a lot more of a streamlined tree of options that you pick. But I do think one thing that's very cool about Street Fighter is that the way where you choose to spend your meter will make you stronger or weaker in certain aspects of the game. So it's DJ has some very good strong, his EX Fireball is a very strong tool. But if I choose to use that and then I get put on defense, I'm in a worse situation because I have less stuff to defend myself. And I really like the push and pull and how the resources affect all stages of the game. I think it's really cool.
So my final question for you is, after Street Fighter, are there any other upcoming fighting games that you're looking to try, or any from the past couple years that now you've branched down to different games you're thinking about trying as well? I know you tweeted about Mortal Kombat recently. Any others on the horizon that you're thinking about?
So I know I won't compete, but I do have interest in Grand Blue Rising, because that's a game I really enjoyed a lot when it first came out, but I just didn't have the resources to play it in an optimal environment and due to the netcode issues. And so that's a game that I'm gonna pick up and play casually, and I have a lot of interest in it. But the next game I plan to play competitively no matter what is definitely Mortal Kombat 1. I started with NetherRealm Studios games. My first competitive game was Injustice, and I honestly love most of their games that they put out. And the new one looks really cool to me. I love how it looks a bit faster. It looks really cheap, and it looks like an anime game, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it looks it's a big departure from what NetherRealm is used to doing. And whether it ends up good or bad, it's something new that people are excited about, and I'm interested to try it. I'm really excited for it.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much, Aaron. It was great to speak to you.
The first winner's top 32 qualifier from Pool C would be between Zackrob on Luke and Shice, one of the few Chun-Lis in the tournament. Shice would win a close first match, but for the rest of the set, Zackrob was in control and he would win, moving on to top 32. After beating Aaron, Julio would go on to play player 69 for his top 32 qualifying match. Julio's zoning and fantastic defensive ability with JP would keep the jury out, and he would win the set cleanly 2-0. Next would be Brass playing Honda versus Thoughtbuster #1 playing Lily. This would be an incredibly close set, with Thoughtbuster taking the first match. But with the strength of Honda's hands, Brass would be able to clutch it out and qualify for top 32. The fourth top 32 qualifying set of Pool C would be between Master Reginald, one of the casters of the event, and Island Frosty, a Ken mirror match. Master Reginald seemed to have total control of the mirror, and his strong offense would propel him to a win. Finally, Pool D, the last round of pools, could begin.
Oh, and now, ladies and gentlemen, the anime man himself, the Marvel legend himself.
Pretty excited for
Apologyman.
this. I'm pretty excited to see some Blanca play. You know, not
The first top 32 qualifying set of Pool D would be between Apologyman on Blanca and Starjun on DJ. Much like the non-factor set earlier, it seemed like Apologyman was simply able to get it every time, and he would quickly take the set 2-0. After his Guilty Gear win, I interviewed Apologyman to ask his thoughts on Street Fighter.
Hello, today I'm here with Apologyman. He's an accomplished fighting game player across multiple different genres, tag games, anime games. Now he's stepping into Street Fighter.
Yeah.
What are your initial impressions of the game, especially since you've been in Strive very heavily? How do you feel they compare?
To be honest, I've been a little busy, so I've actually only really training mode of the game. Today was essentially my way of just seeing how I like it, testing the waters. I played maybe a tiny bit with some locals, but for me, I feel like I get the best feel for a game when I play at an offline event, see how much I really like it. I played SF5 Season 1 like a decent amount, but by the end of it, I was like, Street Fighter's not really my thing. It doesn't get the brain juices flowing, you know. I need something crazier, like team games or anime games. But so far, I like Blanca, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see if I stick with it.
I was gonna ask you about Blanca, like, what do you enjoy about him? What sort of playstyle are you playing with him?
Yeah, so the thing is, before he was probably the most boring character ever. He just did Blanca Ball and like that was it. But now he has like Air Blanca Ball, and more importantly, he has this new mechanic with his Blanca-chan doll, where he gets 3 Blanca-chans per round, and you can detonate them with electricity, and then it like walks, and it reminds me of Mini Faust, and that's, to be honest, the only reason I'm playing him.
Gotcha.
And I like it.
In terms of like the characters you often pick in fighting games, it seems like you go a bit more off meta. I don't want to say weird, but maybe you would use that word.
Weird.
Yeah. What do you think is like your own philosophy in picking characters? Like, what kind of things do you gravitate towards?
Right. So the thing for me is I don't really pick characters that are weird or not off meta on purpose. I'm usually just trying to pick a character that I like first and foremost. If they just so happen to be most of the time kind of off meta and weird, but I just like characters that have I can't play the sole bad guy, the Ryu. That's too boring for me. It's a little too stale. So if there's a character that I can really dig deep in and find out tons of tiny nuances, whether that's setups and also even just innovate their play style, that's pretty fun. That's like a fun thing to do. And yeah, it's, I guess a big draw of why I play fighting games, honestly. It's that discovery combined with, you know, that play style that really fits me, that I'm always looking for in any game I play.
Do you feel that the drive gauge has sped up as of 6 and compared to older Street Fighter games, or do you think it feels pretty similar still?
Oh, it feels, I mean, to be honest, I really do think the drive system has completely changed what I like to compare it to Under Night in Birth, actually. So that game has this grid system, and then all your decisions that you make are based around the grid, where you're like, if you do this, it goes up, if you do this, it goes down. So that design space is really interesting because you can make this game where you have this system that kind of encourages really specific actions. So if you make a block this many things, it goes down. If you parry these things, it goes up. Like, I actually like the drive system, and how much they tweak it going from here on out, I think is going to change Street Fighter's core game like it's never been done before. And I think that's pretty exciting. I will say though, it's pretty, the drive system itself with like drive impact and drive rush being really fast, it's very stressful, like mentally strenuous.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mental stack of like things to look for, but I still think the system they created with the drive system is unique, and it's definitely a breath of fresh air for Street Fighter, I think.
Gotcha. When you're learning a new game, you've learned a couple different new games. What sort of things do you do in the early days to sort of figure it out, I would say?
I don't know. I think for me, I'm always trying to find something that excites me first and foremost. Any game I play, I have to play a character I like, right? Like I said earlier. But that same reason, the reason I do that is to keep me motivated. If I'm not playing something I like, I'm not going to turn the game on, you know? I'm not going to feel the urge to find more stuff. So I think finding that thing that clicks is the most important thing. And then from there, I'll lab setups, matchup strategy, and like I'll play matches and stuff. But I need to find the thing that gets me excited to turn the game on.
My final question is not about Street Fighter. It's how excited for you for Marvel 3 at EVO this year?
Oh, dude, yeah, man.
There's no way. There's absolutely.
Marvel Comics.
There's so much. EVO's gonna be so busy for me. Holy crap! But I'm excited. I'm gonna do my best. I entered actually. I'm gonna do my best, but the thing with that game is it's very, very high demand in terms of execution.
Yeah.
So I know I'm good enough to beat like the best players, but I don't know if my hands are good enough for it.
Yeah.
So I feel like what's gonna happen is I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna just drop a bunch of stuff. I'll be like, oh, poo, and then play Strive. Oh, but who knows? Maybe I'll make a cool run and I'll just channel 2015 Apologyman and make a run. But I'm excited, and it's just really cool to see Marvel 3 still being played the way it is today.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time, and good luck in the rest of the tournament.
Thank you.
The next match would be Scientific KOF, the winner of Dragon Ball at CenCal, and Prometheus Prime. The match would start with Scientific on Marissa and Prometheus on JP. Scientific would win the first set, but would struggle in the second, and would make the switch to Cammy. And on Cammy, he was able to clutch out a win and qualify for top 32. The last match of pools would be the top 32 qualifier between Genesis Frenzy and CenCal Kane. It would be a Manon mirror, and an incredibly close one at that, both players going blow for blow. Down to the wire with both players locked in, Genesis Frenzy would narrowly capitalize on a drop and would win the set, qualifying for top 32 winners. After a short break, top 32 would get underway with the first match, Master Reginald versus Brass. The first match would be incredibly close, with Master Reginald keeping Brass out with fireballs. but a well-timed and a well-placed sumo headbutt would give Brass the win in the first match. From that point on, however, Master Reginald never let up and kept Brass contained. A very close final game of the third match would give Master Reginald the set. The next match would be Master Reginald versus Perfect Shiny. This would be one of the closest matches of top 32, with each competitor going match for match. The extremely competitive match would go all the way to the final game of the final set. But an extremely clutch reaction drive impact from Master Reginald would give him the match, and he would move on to top 8. After losing, Perfect Shiny would go to losers, where he would play an incredibly close match against Zach Rob, where he would take the win and qualify for top 8. The next match would be Non-Factor versus Crazy Diamond. Crazy Diamond's ability to sneak in drinks against Blanca would give him an early set advantage. Non-Factor would claw win back. But some more key drinks from Crazy Diamond would help him win the match. Crazy Diamond would go on to play Julio in the next match for top 8 qualification. Unlike the last set, Crazy Diamond would struggle to get drinks against the Zonian of JP. And Julio's strong pressure would mean he would get the match convincingly, moving on to top 8. Crazy Diamond would meet Kurokiba in losers. Kurokiba was on an insane losers run, beating Jard, Brass, Mario, and he would beat Crazy Diamond to qualify for top 8.
That's the iconic samurai.
Yeah.
He always does. That's the signature, bro. This man, who knows what he's thinking right now? He's hiring his inner Street Fighter.
Next, Samurai would play against DeChronicle. Samurai's very patient playstyle would come in handy against Chronicle's JP. A slower series, Samurai's methodic style would help him get the win against DeChronicle. Next, Samurai and Scythe would play a Luke Mirror for a top 8 spot. Samurai's patient playstyle would again come in handy, and he would dismantle Scythe in the Luke Mirror. Scythe would go on to play Nelly in losers, and both players would qualify for top 8. YJK and Apologyman would meet for the last winner's spot in top 8. Apologyman would take the first set with strong Blanca pressure. But with some very clean reads, YJK would win 3 in a row and would qualify for top 8. Apologyman and Chronicle would face off for the very last top 8 spot. Chronicle's Great Zonian would keep Apologyman's Blanca out. And with Blanca at bay, Chronicle was able to cruise into the last top 8 spot. All of top 8 was now secure, with Samurai, Julio, YJK, and Master Reginald all winners, and Scythe, Kurokiba, Chronicle, and Perfect Shinny in losers.
Long run all the way back here to loser side top 8. Look at him dancing like DJ.
The opening match of top 8 would be Kurokiba versus Scythe. Scythe would get off to a hot start and win the first set, but Kurokiba would slowly bring it back with some amazing mixes. With both players playing strong neutral, Kurokiba was still able to take it in the end.
Fun fact for everybody out there, Chronicle did not go to sleep last night. Dude's a psychopath. Dude is an absolute nut. I woke up this morning. He actually woke me up this morning, and I was like, what's good, bro? He goes, nothing. Didn't sleep. Just got through playing Street Fighter. I said, okay.
He just labbed all night. Here we go. Wow.
The next match of the lower bracket would be DeChronicle versus Perfect Shiny. In a very classic zoner versus grappler matchup, Chronicle was able to totally halt Shiny's pressure and put on massive pressure of his own. Chronicle would win in a brief 3-0. Next would be the first winners match of top 8, Julio versus Samurai. This match was close and would go back and forth a few times. Both players would capitalize on the chances given to them. But Julio was able to capitalize on more chances and would take the match 3-1. The next round of the winners bracket would be YJK versus Master Reginald. Master Reginald would squeak in the first match win. But after that, YJK turned on the Jets. YJK's Kimberly would help him secure a spot in winners finals. Samurai would now face off against Chronicle in losers quarters. A rematch from the start of top 32, Samurai's patience would again help him overcome the JP. Samurai would take the set 3-1 and would move on to losers semis. The other losers quarters would be Master Reginald versus Kurokiba. Another even set, Master Reginald's offense would bring him up to a 2-1 lead. Kurokiba would respond by slowing the pace of the game down. Now tied up at 2-2 in the last game of the last set, it seemed like a stun on Kurokiba would be the win for Master Reginald. But that unfortunate drop would instead mean the win for Kurokiba. Winners finals would be between YJK and Julio. Julio would be able to totally zone YJK out of the first set. but YJK would be able to even it out at 1-1. However, after that, Julio was able to control the pace of the game, and YJK's pressure wasn't enough. Julio would win 3-1. In losers semis, Samurai would face off against Kurokiba. Luke versus DJ is a matchup where the neutral is very important, a situation which could favor Samurai. However, Kurokiba was able to get his offense going during the first set. From then on, Samurai's slower style helped him curb DJ's offense. The clutch factor kicked in and he won 3-1. Losers finals would be YJK versus Samurai. This was a nail biter that would go back and forth. Both players would make some amazing decisions and some amazing plays. In the final set, Samurai would quickly go up a game. But YJK was able to pull off an amazing comeback and would move on to grand finals. Now, YJK would be able to get the run back against his friend Julio. But this rematch would prove to be very one-sided. Julio was able to put a stop to the pressure that helped YJK beat Samurai. His defensive play was immaculate, and YJK had zero chance to reset. Julio would win the series without breaking a sweat, and would be the CenCal Standoff 2023 champion. And with that, a long day of competition had concluded. Top 8 was over, and a winner had been crowned. The only thing left to do was congratulate the competitors on their success.
We have EX9! Also in 7th place, Perfect Shitty! Tied for 5th place, we have Chronicle! Also tied for 5th place, World 1 Master Reginald! 4th place, Kurokiba had to go home. We wish him well. In 3rd place, with that level 1 Punish Samurai. Coming in for 2nd place, YJK. And my God, what control and power we have. Julio Fuentes in 3rd place.
Hello. That was the first episode of the Summer of Street Fighter. CenCal Standoff is completed. It's in the books. It has been for a while. This took a lot longer to edit than I thought it would. I'm just going to end it off with a bit of a more unfiltered clip of just me talking about what I learned, both about the game and also about this process. The first thing, my big takeaway from the weekend is JP is really strong. You don't need to tell me that. The results speak for themselves. Obviously, Julio won, but JPs have been dominating every region, pretty much every tournament. There were a ton here. There were a ton Head Stomper, a ton Battle Arena Melbourne. There have been so many online. I was playing JP in casuals for a while at the event. Like, I think JP is just a really strong character. I think his parries may just be the best move in the game. It's really strong. The other thing about the event is that DJ was everywhere. I think he's really good. I think he has a lot of tools. He's very strong. I talked to Aaron. Aaron had a lot of insight about the character, but he was definitely the most popular character, which kind of surprised me. Not a lot, because his redesign is really cool. Like, he looks cool, so I understand why people like him. I was just surprised that everyone was playing him. I think Manon wasn't super big at this tournament, but I think online we've seen a ton of really good players playing him. You know, IDOM has been playing him, Strider, so many people. There was one in top 8 here. I think Manon is really good. Samurai talked about that a little bit, and I think Blanca is underrated. Obviously, Apologyman played him here at the event and did pretty well. There was Not Factor as well in top 32. I think just in general, Blanca's a bit underrated. Yeah, I did really bad in the tournament. I haven't been able to practice that much because I've been doing this, but I'm still not actually very good at Street Fighter. In terms of the production process of this, I think the craziest thing to me was the thing that took the longest was like getting all the clips. I'm not sure if there's an easier way to do that isn't just bringing the 11-hour Twitch VOD into Premiere and editing that. So, you know, like, obviously I recorded a bunch of stuff. If you've watched, you saw, like, I would intercut things I recorded a bunch, but in general most of it was like clips I got from Twitch or YouTube, and that took a while because I had to like sit there and, you know, record and wait for the thing to disappear, wait for the bar. So if I can figure out a way to make that process quicker, I think this entire thing would take a lot less. I took like an extra 2 days to edit, when probably because I was being lazy, partly also because this is just really hard. So hopefully that's better in the future. And yeah, otherwise I think the interviews went really well. I was very lucky to have the people I interviewed. They were all very gracious. They were all very nice. Was very lucky to have the people at CenCal, like the staff, who are really amazing, totally okay with me doing all that, doing this series. So yeah, that was that episode of the Summer Street Fighter for CenCal Standoff 2023. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you watch the next episodes, and I hope you enjoy the next episodes. Thank you very much.